Our story begins with Yoshihito, a kind and respectful young man whose main goal in life is to graduate, get a prestigious job, marry a nice girl, and buy a car to avoid the hassle of public transportation. As for a home, his family left him a large house in the suburbs. In time, Yoshihito graduates, fulfilling 1/3 of his dreams. He starts looking for a job but finds out that the company he applied to is on the verge of bankruptcy, so he decides to look for a better opportunity elsewhere. Exhausted from job hunting all day, Yoshihito decides to take a break in the park. As soon as he sits down, he falls asleep from sheer exhaustion. At that moment, a girl comes and wakes him up. Startled, Yoshihito apologizes for dozing off in the park. She reassures him it's fine and asks for his help finding an address written on a piece of paper because she's lost. Yoshihito looks at the address and is shocked to see it's his own house. Curious, he asks her why she's looking for that house. She explains she's looking to rent a room advertised for accommodation there. Yoshihito remembers listing his extra rooms for rent some time ago and finds it amusing that she's asking the owner of the house for directions. However, he realizes his home is still far from this area. He asks her if she's been searching in this area for a long time. She confirms, saying she's been looking for a while but hasn't been able to find the place. Yoshihito explains that she must have misunderstood the address because the house is actually in the southern suburbs. Realizing her mistake, she begins to cry, feeling frustrated and lost. Yoshihito reassures her that he will help her since he's the house owner and offers to take her there. They start heading to the house, boarding a bus together. Yoshihito is surprised at how easily she trusted him and says, "How can you trust strangers so quickly? What if I were trying to trick or kidnap you?" She nervously asks if he's a slave trader planning to abduct her. Alarmed, Yoshihito insists he's not and mentally notes how naive and kind-hearted she seems. The girl introduces herself as Lily. When they reach the suburban station, they navigate through narrow streets toward the house. Lily is puzzled by how unnaturally quiet the area is and asks if the neighborhood is abandoned. Yoshihito explains that it's quiet because of the high security in the area but advises her not to wander alone at night as a precaution. Suddenly, one of the wheels on Lily's suitcase breaks, and each time she tries to force it, it worsens the damage. Yoshihito tries to help but finds the suitcase impossibly heavy and asks what she's carrying inside. She dismisses his concern, effortlessly hoists it onto her shoulder, and continues walking. Yoshihito is amazed by her strength and jokes. "Were you born with that strength, like a superhero?" As they continue, the atmosphere grows tense, and Yoshihito senses something is wrong. Suddenly, bats appear, circling around them. Lily becomes anxious and tells Yoshihito to run ahead to the house, assuring him she can find it by scent. Yoshihito refuses to leave her alone in such a dangerous situation. To his shock, Lily transforms into a werewolf. Yoshihito is stunned into silence as the bats disappear, transforming into a vampire who attacks Lily. The fight between them is intense. The vampire flies into the air, and Lily tries to bring her down by hurling stones at her. The vampire vanishes quickly. Afterward, Lily checks on Yoshihito, but he's frightened and asks, "What are you exactly?" Lily apologizes for scaring him and walks away, asking him not to tell anyone about what he witnessed. Yoshihito calls out to her, asking where she'll stay now that she's not coming to his house. She reassures him she'll manage, saying she's used to sleeping under bridges or in parks. Yoshihito refuses to let her leave and insists she come live in his house as planned, especially since she just saved his life. They head to the house together. Once there, Yoshihito shows her the house and her room, telling her to rest and call him if she needs anything. The next morning, Yoshihito wakes up to Lily screaming for him. He rushes to her and finds her hiding behind a chair in the living room. When he asks what's wrong, she points to his cat, terrified. Yoshihito says, "You mean Mr. Rowley, my cat?" and introduces them. Lily notices the cat is actually quite gentle and calms down. She then asks Yoshihito why the TV isn't working. He's surprised to find it's not functioning either. Suddenly, the weather turns icy cold, and as he opens the window, the vampire from before breaks in. She attacks Lily again, with each thinking they're protecting Yoshihito from the other. As their fight escalates, it becomes clear they're about to destroy the house. Yoshihito yells at them to take their fight outside. Both apologize, and the vampire introduces herself as Vivian. Vivian explains that she also came to rent a room because the rent is affordable, and sleeping here is definitely better than in a graveyard. Yoshihito considers that more tenants would increase his monthly income, so he quickly agrees and shows her to her room. Vivian decides to pay her rent immediately but is shocked to discover her money is missing. She remembers leaving her bag downstairs, jumps out the window to retrieve it, but returns empty-handed. Heartbroken, she realizes she's lost all her savings and won't be able to pay rent. She asks Yoshihito if there are any nearby graveyards where she can stay. Feeling sorry for her, Yoshihito insists she can live with them and pay rent whenever she has the money. Vivian is overjoyed and offers to help with house chores like cooking. She tells him she's an excellent cook. True to her word, she prepares a meal for everyone. When they taste her food, they're amazed at how delicious it is. At that moment, Yoshihito receives a call regarding the job interview he applied for, and they set the time for 2 p.m. Yoshihito quickly prepares and sets off for the interview. He gets off the bus in a strange area and wonders why a company would be located in such a rural place. The woman conducting the interview calls him again and guides him to the company, leading him to a pole with a poster. She asks him to place his hand on the poster. Yoshihito follows her instructions, and at that moment, a three-dimensional image of a grand and luxurious place appears above him. Yoshihito is stunned and asks her what this is. She tells him to remove his hand from the pole and look at the courtyard carefully. He follows her instructions and is transported to this strange, magnificent place. Yoshihito is bewildered and doesn't understand what's happening. A butler appears in front of the building and guides him to the woman. Yoshihito explores the place, amazed by everything around him, until he reaches the interview room and asks for permission to enter. He's shocked by the grandeur of the office and meets the woman he had been speaking to on the phone. Yoshihito asks, "Who exactly are you?" She introduces herself as Raven, his potential future boss. She explains that this office is an illegal base located in Sector AI-35 of space and that she's here to discuss his new role. Yoshihito is confused and asks why she lied to him and brought him there. She responds that he is there for a job and that he was selected by the Space Guild for this role. When Yoshihito asks what the Space Guild is, she explains it's a department under the Supreme Empire that governs the entire universe. Still unable to grasp the situation, Yoshihito listens as she explains he will join a team dedicated to preventing various supernatural species from destroying the world. She further explains that the supernatural tenants in his house were deliberately placed there by the guild, and his new job is to keep them out of trouble and under control at all times. Yoshihito contemplates the offer, and Raven tells him it's up to him to choose a new life or remain in the boring life he currently has. She also explains that if he declines, they'll erase the past 2 days from his memory and let him return to his normal life. Yoshihito asks what will happen to Vivian and Lily if he rejects the offer. She replies that they'll be taken far away from him and he can continue his life as usual. Yoshihito agrees to the job and signs the contract with her. Yoshihito returns home and explains the situation to Lily and Vivian. Vivian is skeptical of the organization since it's her first time hearing about it and feels something is strange about it. However, she assures Yoshihito that as long as the job doesn't pose a threat to their lives, there's no problem. She then tells him she stepped out of the house to ensure no monster hunters followed her there. Yoshihito insists she avoids flying during the day entirely and asks who these monster hunters are. Vivian explains that monster hunters are hybrids with partial human blood and have been at war with supernatural species for a very long time. She also tells him they're cold-blooded killers who used to hunt individually but later formed sects and organizations, collaborating with humans and becoming a serious threat to other supernatural beings. Yoshihito asks Lily if she knows anything about monster hunters, but she replies that she's never heard of them and has lived among humans her entire life. All the knowledge she has about her kind comes from human books. Yoshihito realizes that from this moment onward, the eyes of monster hunters will be on them. Vivian assures Yoshihito that if the hunters come after them, she'll take Lily and leave immediately, asking him not to get involved in anything related to those dangerous hunters. Yoshihito goes to rest in his room but suddenly finds himself in a strange place. He's anxious and doesn't understand where he is or if it's a dream. He tries to snap himself back to reality, but it's futile. At that moment, he realizes this is real and that his consciousness has shifted to another world. He continues walking through this strange place, hoping to find an exit, feeling an intense cold. Suddenly, a pack of wild wolves appears and rushes to attack him. Yoshihito runs away quickly but trips over a rock and falls, and a wolf leaps toward him to devour him. At that moment, he snaps back to consciousness and finds Lily waking him up, asking why he was screaming. Yoshihito reassures her it's nothing and that he just had a nightmare. However, when he looks at his hand, he's shocked to find wolf fur still clinging to it. He explains to Lily and Vivian what happened, and they try to figure out what's going on. Lily sniffs the fur to confirm whether it's related to black magic, but they confirm there's no trace of it. This calms Yoshihito as they assure him everything is fine if no black magic is involved. Vivian suggests Lily sniff the fur again to check if the wolves might be her relatives. Lily smells it but doesn't recognize the scent. Vivian decides to gift Yoshihito a magical silver bracelet for protection. She shows him several bracelets and explains that she found them long ago in an Egyptian village. She also displays a collection of rare amulets, believing they bring her luck and courage. Lily mocks Vivian, saying the amulets are just junk, but Vivian scolds her, claiming they are national treasures. Vivian tries to activate blood magic on Yoshihito's hand, but it doesn't work. She attempts her direct magic, which also fails. She concludes that Yoshihito might be one of those rare humans with high magic resistance. Yoshihito, still confused about why the magic didn't work, decides to ask Raven when he sees her. At that moment, Raven calls him and informs him to meet her early the next morning for an urgent new mission. suspicion. The next morning, Yoshihito heads straight to the headquarters to meet Raven. He is still amazed by the mansion's view, even though he has seen it before. He knocks on the door, expecting someone to open it, but this time, neither the servant nor Raven responds. Yoshihito assumes no one is at the headquarters and decides to return home and contact her later. Just as he's about to leave, Raven emerges from the garden, asking, "Hey, where are you going?" Yoshihito is surprised by her appearance and asks about her unusual outfit. She explains that it's her gardening attire, which she uses to care for the garden's trees. Yoshihito becomes even more astonished when he learns that she trims the trees with her sharp sword. Raven then asks him to head to the office while she changes her clothes, promising to give him a fantastic gift. Once in the office, Raven follows him and hands him the gift. She reveals a device resembling a personal assistant robot. Yoshihito is puzzled by its design, noting it looks like a women's beauty product, but he is shocked to discover how amazing it is when he tries it out. He asks Raven how to use it, and she explains that he can control it directly with his mind. Yoshihito tests it and is truly impressed. Raven assures him that it will be very useful in battles, whether for calling for help or escaping. Yoshihito is stunned by her words and exclaims, "Battles? Fights? I'm not into combat at all. We didn't agree on this." She reassures him, explaining that he is practically immortal because if he dies, they can bring him back in a new body. She then takes him to the lab to make some modifications to his body. At the lab, Raven explains that Yoshihito needs to pass an enhancement test to ensure his body can accept these modifications. Yoshihito is confused and asks her what the test involves. She tells him it's a simple adjustment that will grant him some superhuman abilities. Raven then brings out a coffin and asks him to get inside quickly. Yoshihito hesitates and admits that he's not comfortable with this process. Frustrated, Raven forces him into the coffin. Yoshihito struggles and pounds on the coffin's walls, trying to get out, but she locks it and begins the enhancement procedure. His screams fill the lab as Raven presses some buttons, accidentally hitting a few extra ones. Suddenly, Yoshihito and the coffin disappear entirely. Yoshihito wakes up to find himself in a strange world. He soon realizes it's the same mysterious world he had entered before. At that moment, his assistant robot emerges from his pocket, explaining that Raven's accidental button press caused him to be transported here. Yoshihito asks where exactly he is, and the assistant tells him that this is the dream world, a parallel universe to his own. However, if anything fatal happens to him here, he will die in the real world too. Shocked, Yoshihito tries to adjust to the situation and asks the assistant for a jacket to keep warm, along with a four-wheel drive vehicle to get out of this place. The assistant scolds him, saying, "I'm not a genie here to grant your wishes. I'm just your guide for information and directions." Yoshihito continues walking with the assistant until they arrive at a strange location. He feels like someone has been watching them for a while and informs the assistant. Suddenly, a pack of wolves appears, prompting Yoshihito to run. The assistant yells at him, "Running won't help. You can't outrun wolves." Yoshihito stops in his tracks and decides to face the wolves. The pack charges at him, and he manages to strike one while blocking the others with his shield. He's amazed at his newfound abilities. The assistant explains that this is thanks to the enhanced shield he gained through the procedure. Overjoyed by his new powers, Yoshihito suddenly hears the wolves howling loudly. Their leader responds to their call and joins them. Terrified by the massive alpha wolf, Yoshihito tries to escape but is caught easily. The leader attempts to attack him, but Yoshihito's shield activates and blocks the assault. The leader then speaks, asking Yoshihito, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Stunned, Yoshihito replies, "You can talk. How is that even possible?" The leader angrily retorts, explaining that they are a unique species of wolves, far beyond the kind that merely howls at the moon. Yoshihito insists he's just a traveler passing through. The leader dismisses his words, declaring that his flesh will feed their young. Terrified, Yoshihito sees wolf cubs emerge, pleading with their leader for food. Desperate, he offers to take the alpha to a human settlement where he can help him secure plenty of food, and even a dentist for his teeth. The alpha is skeptical at first but eventually agrees. He carries Yoshihito on his back as they set off. The alpha leads Yoshihito to a human settlement, where they part ways. Yoshihito promises to return with everything they agreed upon. Exploring the abandoned houses in the area, he stumbles and falls, uncovering a strange metal plate on the ground. As he touches it, the ground beneath him glows, the wind howls, and he is suddenly transported back to his world inside the coffin. Raven is waiting for him and welcomes him back to reality. Yoshihito explains his journey to the dream world and recounts what happened there. He notes that he hasn't noticed any physical changes in himself. Raven assures him that the enhancements are there. He simply needs experience to fully utilize his new abilities. She tells him she has already equipped him with all the basic powers he might need. On their way out of the headquarters, Yoshihito tells Raven that he had previously entered the dream world on his own. Raven is surprised as Yoshihito shows her the wolf fur he had kept from his first visit. As they reach the door, Raven hurries him out and tells him to prepare for his his next mission without commenting further on his story. She informs Yoshihito of a new mission, hands him plane tickets to Europe, and provides him with all the necessary details to meet the new tenant. She advises him to take Vivian and Lily along in case he needs their help, then closes the door, leaving him to head off. We see Yoshihito back at home, taking Lily and Vivian, traveling with them on the plane to meet the new tenant. Lily's main concern during the trip is the food she'll eat on the plane. Vivian asks Yoshihito about the identity of the new tenant they're going to meet. Yoshihito replies that he has no idea, saying that all Raven told him was that the tenant lives in a place called Yorkford in England. Lily is incredibly excited about meeting the new tenant. Yoshihito and Lily learn that this is Vivian's first time on a plane. She looks out of the window, utterly amazed by the aircraft's ability to fly at such a high altitude. She tells them it's her first time being at such a height while flying. Yoshihito asks, "But don't you always fly with your wings?" Vivian explains that although she can fly long distances, it's not at this kind of altitude. Yoshihito is surprised and questions her about flying so low, saying people might see her, which could cause problems. She reassures him that she flies incredibly fast, making it impossible for humans to see her. As usual, Lily annoys Vivian, saying bluntly, "The truth is you've never been on a plane because you're broke and can't afford it." Vivian retorts that she simply doesn't need to fly on planes since she has her wings. But Lily keeps teasing her, and the two begin bickering. Yoshihito is frustrated with Raven for booking them tickets in economy class, especially for such a long trip. Lily comments that she's flown on much better planes before. Yoshihito is shocked, and Lily brags about riding a Stinson once. Confused, Yoshihito asks what a Stinson is. Lily confidently explains that it's a luxury plane only for the super rich. Vivian is amazed by Lily's apparent wealth, jokingly asking, "Wow, so you're secretly super rich, huh?" Lily smugly replies that she flew on it for free. Both Yoshihito and Vivian are stunned until Lily clarifies that her free ride was actually her clinging to the plane while flying alongside it. The group finally arrives in England. Vivian mentions how much the place has changed over time. Yoshihito asks if she's been there before, and she reveals that she used to live there a long time ago. Lily, exhausted and sleepy, asks when they'll reach the hotel and suggests taking a cab. Yoshihito reminds her that their budget doesn't allow for it and assures her they must be close to the hotel. Vivian offers to ask someone for directions, boasting that she speaks fluent English. However, she's shocked when no one understands her. Yoshihito asks when she last lived there, and she nonchalantly says, "A few centuries ago." Shocked, Yoshihito explains that, of course, the language has evolved since then. Vivian then has an idea, to use Lily's sense of smell to track the address from the letter. The plan works, but Lily becomes extremely tired. She only perks up when Yoshihito promises there's plenty of food waiting for them at the hotel, prompting her to rush ahead eagerly. They successfully reach the hotel and check into their room, marveling at its elegance and luxury. Sitting together, Yoshihito takes out his personal assistant device to bring up the map, but he can't make sense of it due to the foreign language. At that moment, Raven calls Yoshihito, asking about their progress. He explains that they've just arrived and are struggling to use the map because of the language barrier. He also mentions the device needs an update to translate it. Raven assures him she'll update the system immediately. Once the update is complete, the assistant announces it can now translate any language at any time. Yoshihito asks if it can translate conversations between people too. The assistant confirms this but warns that any negative comments about Raven will result in severe punishment, like getting zapped with lightning. The group soon grows hungry and heads to the restaurant to eat. As usual, Lily's appetite is insatiable, and she devours nearly half the food by herself. Meanwhile, one of Vivian's bats scouts the hotel and detects a strange energy nearby. It reports back to Vivian, who informs Yoshihito that something dangerous is happening and they must return to their room immediately. She promises to explain everything later. Suddenly, a suspicious man approaches their table, greets them, and asks to join them. Vivian questions who he is, and he introduces himself as Nanyang, saying he's from China. Nanyang sits with them, and Yoshihito asks if he knows where Yorkford is. Nanyang replies that he's heading there too, but mentions that no one usually goes to Yorkford since it's abandoned and haunted by ghosts. When he asks why they're visiting, Vivian casually lies, saying they're going to see the local attractions. Nanyang doesn't seem convinced but warns them about the ghosts anyway. Later that evening, Yoshihito sits on the balcony, wondering if the new tenant is connected to the ghosts in the town. Vivian joins him and explains that she senses the presence of monster hunters in the hotel and that her bats found traces of hunters while they were dining. Yoshihito asks if they should confront the hunters or just avoid them altogether. Vivian reveals she suspects Nanyang might be one of them, explaining that hunters are highly skilled at disguising themselves as ordinary people. Yoshihito then asks how they can identify a hunter. Before Vivian can answer, Nanyang interrupts, boldly declaring there's no need to investigate. "I'm the hunter here." Both Yoshihito and Vivian are shocked. Vivian asks, "Are you serious? You're a monster hunter?" Nanyang confirms, adding that he works independently. Vivian laughs in disbelief disbelief, saying no hunter would reveal themselves so easily. To prove himself, Nanyang demonstrates his skills using magical incantations. The group is finally convinced, reassured by Nanjung's honesty, and they agree to continue their journey together. The next day, they board a train heading to the new tenant's town. Vivian is annoyed to be seated next to Lily, and as usual, the two bicker non-stop. Yoshihito ignores them, focusing instead on asking Nanyang about the ghost sightings in the area. Nanyang reassures him that he'll protect them as long as he's around. A news broadcast on the train discusses the town's ghost problem and mentions a large cash reward for anyone who can solve the mystery. Vivian gets excited, suggesting they take on the challenge to claim the reward. Yoshihito reminds her that their priority is meeting the new tenant. After some time, the group arrives in the town. Nanyang detects the scent of ghosts nearby and rushes off, followed closely by Yoshihito and the others. By nightfall, they reach a creepy-looking hotel where the owner, Angus, the same man from the news, greets them. Angus informs them that they're out of luck as all the rooms are fully booked. Yoshihito pleads for help, and Angus promises to find a solution and arrange a room for them. Angus finds two rooms, one for Lily and Vivian and another for Mr. Nangong and Yoshihito. The friends quickly notice that Angus is quite peculiar. He asks them why they've come to the town and whether they're here to hunt ghosts in the castle. Yoshihito tries to dodge the question, but Nangong confidently admits that his guess is spot on and that he's here to hunt ghosts, proudly claiming he's an exceptional monster hunter. Angus mentions he's heard of a similar profession called a necromancer. Nangong, as usual, brags, explaining that necromancers are second-tier hunters compared to him. Angus apologizes if he unintentionally offended him and introduces himself as the owner of the inn. Yoshihito recognizes Angus from a TV news report and mentions it. Nangong then asks Angus about the castle and what's happening there. Later, Nangong and Yoshihito sit with Angus in a dimly lit and eerie room. Yoshihito asks why the lights are off, and Nangong naively answers that it makes it feel like a secret meeting. Angus asks if Nangong wants a map of the castle, to which Nangong replies it would be a great help. However, Angus explains there are no maps of the castle and begins to tell its story, revealing the name of the castle, Yorkford. He mentions that only a few people know that name nowadays. When Yoshihito asks why, Angus explains that people were warned to stay away from the castle long ago. A rebellion once broke out in the castle before it was abandoned. Soldiers were trapped in underground tunnels and died in a massive fire. Over time, the soldiers turned into ghosts that seek vengeance on any treasure hunters. Nangong finds it odd that treasure hunters would visit the castle. Angus explains that the first lord of the castle had an enormous amount of treasure, and to protect it, he rebuilt the lower levels of the castle into a maze. Nangong asks why the rebellion occurred, and Angus reveals that the first lord had 3 sons. After his death, the eldest inherited all the treasure. The younger brothers united and staged a rebellion against him. The city turned into a battlefield, blood covering every corner. The castle was eventually destroyed, and all 3 brothers perished inside. Yoshihito later visits Lily and Vivian's room and tells Vivian everything Angus shared about the town and the castle. Vivian has intriguing news of her own. She had sent her bats to scout the castle, and they detected ghostly scents there, possibly related to the rumors. However, she doubts the ghosts are causing the strange occurrences in the town. She suspects something peculiar is happening in the town itself and that the ghosts might be linked to the new tenant. Yoshihito returns to his room to sleep but finds Nangong sitting alone, holding a photograph. Nangong is startled when Yoshihito enters, causing him to drop the photo. Yoshihito catches it and apologizes for scaring him. However, Nangong snatches the photo back angrily, telling Yoshihito he can't touch whatever he pleases. Nangong later apologizes for overreacting, explaining that the photo is very important to him. Curious, Yoshihito asks why the person in the photo is photographed from the back. Nangong says it's his sister, who doesn't like facing cameras. He then abruptly leaves and goes to sleep. Yoshihito notices that Nangong is sleeping in a sleeping bag despite being on a bed. When asked why, Nangong explains that the bag protects him from bugs and evil spirits and is specifically designed for monster hunters. Yoshihito remarks that the bag seems weak and easily torn. Nangong retorts that it's designed that way to allow flexibility in case of danger. At that moment, a mosquito lands on Nangong's face, prompting Yoshihito to smack him with a flashlight to kill it. As Nangong tries to sleep, Yoshihito asks why he doesn't work with his sister, as she must be a skilled monster hunter like him. Nangong reveals that she's not a monster hunter and that he became one to protect her. However, he realized that if she stayed close to him, she'd always be in danger. Unfortunately, he has no idea where she is now. Meanwhile, Angus is seen transporting a group of hunters to the castle. He negotiates a fee of 50 euros per person but reluctantly agrees to 45 euros after a heated argument. Unbeknownst to Angus, Nangong is secretly observing and following them to learn the castle's location. Back at the inn, Yoshihito is sound asleep when Vivian enters his room, startling him. She tells him Nangong has left for the castle. Surprised, Yoshihito asks what time it is. Vivian informs him it's past midnight and adds that the hunters in the area have also vanished. She warns him that they must hurry or they'll fail their mission and lose any chance of finding the new tenant. Yoshihito agrees and asks about Lily. They check on her and find her room completely destroyed. Lily is biting and tearing everything in sight. Shocked, Yoshihito asks Vivian why Lily is behaving this way. Vivian says she doesn't know, adding that she tried to stop her but failed. Yoshihito attempts to wake Lily, but Vivian tells him there's only one way to do it. She slams Lily against the wall, waking her up instantly. The three then set off on their mission. Angus is shown dropping the hunters off at the castle, warning them about the supernatural events there. As they listen to his eerie tales, the hunters become terrified. Meanwhile, Nangong clings to the roof of Angus's vehicle. Back with the group, Vivian carries Yoshihito as she flies toward the castle, while he clings to her in fear. Lily leads the way on foot, using her sense of smell to guide them. However, she falls asleep while running and crashes into a massive boulder. She wakes up crying, confused about why her head hurts, only to realize she was sleeping. Suddenly, the boulder behind her collapses, revealing an underground tunnel. Vivian praises Lily for finding a shortcut to the castle. The group continues and eventually reaches the castle, where Vivian warns them to stay alert, as things are about to get dangerous. Yoshihito and the others notice a group of hunters nearby. Lily asks where they'll meet the new tenant. Yoshihito checks his assistant device for messages but finds none. The device confirms that everything is functioning correctly, but the tenant hasn't sent any updates. Yoshihito concludes they must find the tenant themselves. The team begins searching and eventually reaches the castle's center, finding it in ruins. Lily detects the scent of humans other than Yoshihito inside. Vivian also notices human footprints and follows them until they discover a hidden underground door. Opening it reveals a staircase leading below, and the group excitedly descends into the tunnel. Yoshihito uses his assistant as a flashlight, and they descend into the tunnel. They arrive at a large hall and are amazed by the place's design. Vivian tells him that this area was likely used as a shelter during the war. Yoshihito responds that the place looks truly terrifying and asks if it's possible that the legend is true and the ghostly knights actually exist. She replies that anything is possible but hopes they can leave this place unharmed. Meanwhile, Lily leads the way, following the scent of the hidden human in the area. We cut back to Nanyang, who is also exploring the castle. He senses the presence of many eerie spirits and finds a mysterious tunnel hidden under a massive boulder. Using his magical power, he lifts the boulder to reveal the tunnel and quickly enters before the enormous stone falls back down. Returning to Yoshihito, he's exhausted from exploring the castle. He notes how much larger it is than he expected. Vivian comments that the sheer size of the place indicates there's something very important hidden here. Surprised, he asks what she means. She explains she's talking about treasure. Yoshihito then decides they should take a short break before continuing their exploration. At that moment, Yoshihito senses something suspicious. Lily says the mysterious client might have arrived. They see a light approaching from a distance and panic as they consider what to do next. To their surprise, Angus approaches them. Shocked, they wonder what he's doing there. Vivian uses her transformation ability and they disguise themselves as ghosts. They approach him cautiously and she remarks that Angus must be hiding something, especially since he brought all this equipment. They scare Angus and he mistakes them for ghosts. He quickly kneels and apologizes, claiming he's just a merchant from a nearby town. Business has been bad lately, so he made up stories about ghosts in the village to attract tourists and bring life back to the area. Yoshihito reassures Angus that he won't harm him. Confused, Angus asks why they appeared to him if they're not going to hurt him. Yoshihito snaps at him to leave immediately and Angus flees in terror. After Angus leaves, Vivian drops the disguise. Lily discovers strange writings on the walls and Vivian identifies them as Litterune runes, magical symbols used by monster hunters. Yoshihito asks if she can translate them. She explains that the writings state this place seals away all forms of evil, ensuring no dark force can break through. Vivian tells them that the castle's first lord was clearly not an ordinary noble. He must have been a monster hunter who integrated into human society. Yoshihito is amazed by her knowledge. When Vivian touches the runes, the magic activates, triggering traps. Yoshihito uses his protective shield to save them from a barrage of arrows, and they quickly escape. We cut back to Nanyang as he struggles to navigate a narrow tunnel, facing challenges alone, unlike Yoshihito and his friends. Back to Yoshihito and the group. After escaping one trap, they encounter another. A giant boulder rolls toward them and they press themselves against the wall to avoid it. However, Lily instinctively chases after the boulder due to her animal instincts, forcing the others to run after her to stop her. Suddenly, Lily falls into a deep pit. Vivian flies after her and rescues her, with Yoshihito jumping in after them. They find themselves in a massive chamber filled with treasure. Lily and Vivian excitedly approach the hoard, but Yoshihito stops them, realizing it's an illusion. Touching the treasure would have sent them plummeting into the abyss. They continue exploring entering the castle, with Vivian asking Lily if she smells any more humans. Lily replies that she doesn't. Yoshihito grumbles about wanting to find the mysterious client quickly so they can return home and rest. At that moment, strange symbols appear on the walls and begin moving toward them again. Panicked, they search for a quick solution, but Vivian and Lily suddenly lose their powers. Terrified, they beg Yoshihito to run away. He refuses and tries to stop the advancing walls with his hands. To everyone's shock, the walls halt upon his touch. Vivian and Lily's powers return, and Yoshihito admits he doesn't know what he just did. However, he insists they leave the area immediately. They escape, while Nanyang struggles to navigate the traps on his own. We return to Yoshihito's group, now exhausted from walking. As they rest, ghostly knights emerge from the ground and begin chasing them. Lily confronts them head-on, seizing a sword from one of the knights and defeating them before they flee. Lily and Vivian notice magical writing on the sword, indicating that the knights never sleep and are tasked with guarding the magic stone. Vivian explains that these knights aren't prisoners but guardians. Yoshihito asks about the magic stone, and Vivian describes it as a column of small, irregular black crystals. Yoshihito looks up and says, "Like that stone?" To everyone's shock, a massive number of ghostly knights appear around them. Suddenly, the ceiling collapses, revealing Nanyang above. He's startled to see Yoshihito and the others below and asks why they're there. Yoshihito tells him he'll explain later, but they need to escape first. Nanyang reassures them, claiming he's the professional and will handle the ghosts immediately. He jumps down into the crowd of knights, only to land flat on his face. The ghostly knights prepare to attack the group, but Nanyang uses his magic to immobilize them and urges the others to run while he holds them off. He fires magical arrows, quickly eliminating a large number of the knights. However, the knights surround Yoshihito, Vivian, and Lily. Yoshihito panics, but Vivian reassures him, saying she'll defeat them with her incredible magic. She just needs some time to gather enough power. Yoshihito asks Lily to distract the knights while he assists her with his protective shield. Meanwhile, Nanyang continues fighting but runs out of arrows. Realizing he forgot to bring extras, he's left in a difficult situation. Lily throws rocks at the knights, defeating them with ease, but she becomes exhausted from the effort. Vivian finishes charging her energy and unleashes a powerful magical attack that should eliminate all the knights. However, the attack fails, absorbed by the magic barrier protecting the knights. Shocked, Vivian doesn't understand why the magic stone's barrier activated. Suddenly, a magic portal opens, leaving Yoshihito confused. Then, meteors begin raining from the sky, destroying the castle entirely. A massive and powerful monster appears in the sky. The monster notices Yoshihito and his friends, descends, and grabs both Yoshihito and Nanyang. It flies away with them, leaving Vivian and Lily to give chase. The monster carries them far from the castle and drops them on the ground. Yoshihito is overwhelmed with fear. Vivian and Lily catch up, and Vivian activates her magic again. At that moment, a crimson-red moon appears alongside the regular moon in the sky. Lily faints and falls into a deep sleep. Vivian tells the monster she'll destroy it with the same power she used to defeat the beast Poseidon. Strangely, the monster remains calm. It suddenly addresses Yoshihito, saying, "You're the new landlord." Everyone is shocked by the monster's words. At that moment, Yoshihito's assistant activates, congratulating them on completing the mission, revealing that this monster is the new tenant. The monster introduces itself as Isaac. It tries to wake up Nanyang but ends up casually flinging him away instead. Isaac asks Yoshihito to sign the rental contract. Vivian protests, saying, "How can you let a monster live with us?" But Lily is thrilled about the new tenant, excited to make a new friend. Yoshihito, however, is more concerned about the ghostly knights and asks Isaac what they'll do about them. Isaac reassures him and, with a flick of his finger, summons a giant meteor that obliterates the castle completely. At that moment, a group of hunters approaches. Isaac prepares to summon another meteor to deal with them, but Yoshihito stops him, insisting he transform into a human form immediately. Isaac complies, taking on a human appearance, and the mission is officially complete. The next day, Yoshihito visits Raven to report the mission's success. She asks if he enjoyed the task this time. He angrily replies, "Did you even listen to what I just told you? We almost died yesterday." She then asks about the new tenant, and Yoshihito assures her that everything is under control, except for Isaac's habit of solving every problem with meteors. Yoshihito returns home and visits Vivian in her room. He's surprised to see the room is now immaculately clean, a stark contrast to the chaotic storage space it used to be. Vivian explains that cleaning up is the least she could do. Yoshihito shows her the metal piece he found in the dream world, recalling the promise he made to the wolf chief. At that moment, the phone rings. The police inform Yoshihito that they've arrested Isaac and need him to come and bail him out. The next morning, Yoshihito heads out to the headquarters, annoyed with Raven for summoning him so early. The assistant explains that she's likely calling him for a new mission. On the way, Yoshihito comes across a girl with a beautiful voice playing the guitar. He's impressed by her singing, as is the assistant, who comments that it seems like she forgot the lyrics. Yoshihito replies that she's singing with her soul now. The girl notices Yoshihito and greets him, asking for a small donation, even a little. But Yoshihito realizes he forgot his wallet, smiles awkwardly, and walks away. The girl assumes he's stingy. Yoshihito arrives at the headquarters and meets Raven, who is visibly frustrated. She informs him of a major issue. The new tenant, meant to be delivered to Earth from outer space, has accidentally been dropped on another planet 895 light-years away. She tells him it's now Yoshihito's mission to travel to that planet and retrieve the tenant. Yoshihito is shocked. Last time, you sent me to England, and now you're sending me to space. Raven sternly replies that she's still gaining experience, and to do so, she must send him on as many missions as possible. Yoshihito then asks how he's supposed to reach the planet, and Raven explains that his assistant will first be upgraded to establish communication with the Kuiper space station. Yoshihito, still confused, asks for clarification. Raven explains that they'll add a teleportation feature to his assistant so he can travel to the Kuiper station, from which he'll board a spaceship to the planet with the new tenant. Raven warns him to be careful, as humans often struggle with space travel. She also explains that the planet he's headed to is 90% water, which is why she's arranged for an expert sailor to assist him on the mission. At that moment, the singing girl enters. Yoshihito is shocked and exclaims, "We just met a little while ago." She replies, "Yes, you stingy man." Raven laughs, saying it's good they already know each other, and introduces the girl as another one of his new tenants. Yoshihito and the girl return to the house, where he introduces her to the others and learns her name is Yu. Yu is amazed to see all the different species living in Yoshihito's house. Vivian asks Yu about her species, and Yu explains that she's a mermaid, like her mother, though she's lived among humans her entire life. Yoshihito, Lily, and Isaac are confused about what mermaids are. Vivian explains that mermaids are an ancient and rare species. Most of the time, they live in the deep seas and rarely come to the surface, making them extremely uncommon. She adds that mermaids are an all-female species, born through mysterious rituals that no one fully understands. Noticing Yu is hungry, Vivian prepares a delicious meal to welcome her. Yoshihito then informs the group about the new mission to retrieve the tenant from outer space. He tells them he can only take 2 companions, with Yu being the first. Isaac volunteers, saying he has decent knowledge of outer space. Yoshihito agrees, finalizing the team. Lily, upset about not being chosen, insists she wants to go too. But her stomach hurts from overeating, silencing her protests. The next morning, the team prepares for the journey, using the assistant's teleportation feature to reach the Kuiper station. They arrive instantly, leaving the group amazed. A woman greets Yoshihito and his team. Yoshihito asks who she is, and the assistant introduces her as their guide on the space station. Yoshihito, curious, asks if she's an alien, and the assistant confirms it. Yu marvels at how the station's gravity feels just like Earth's. The guide explains that the station is designed to accommodate most species, with artificial gravity tailored for living beings. The team continues to the spaceship and notices how empty the station feels, almost abandoned. Isaac and Yu comment on the lack of people. Yoshihito asks the assistant why, as he had expected the station to be bustling. The assistant explains that this station is merely an intergalactic transit hub, so people don't stay for long. The guide takes them to their spaceship, and the team is stunned by its massive size. She tells them it's Ship 883, a medium-sized spacecraft, not enormous at all. Yu points out to Yoshihito that the ship's crew looks exactly like the aliens she imagined. They board the ship and notice it feels deserted. The assistant explains that other passengers are aboard, but each group has its designated section. He adds that they'll transfer to another vessel mid-journey to reach their destination. A holographic image of the captain appears, welcoming them. The assistant describes the captain as an expert in intergalactic routes. The captain reassures them that while the journey is 1 billion light-years long, it will only take 24 hours. Yu is thrilled about experiencing space travel, just like in the movies. As the spaceship prepares for takeoff, it accelerates at incredible speed. The team entertains themselves with card games along the way. Suddenly, turbulence strikes, alarming everyone. The captain's hologram reappears, assuring them everything is fine, but a rival ship is trying to race them. Yoshihito protests, worried the captain will focus on the race and forget their drop-off. However, the captain cuts off communication, ignoring him. The team panics, and the assistant suggests they quickly evacuate via an escape pod. Everyone agrees, and Yoshihito asks how much time they have left. The assistant informs them they have 4 minutes before reaching their transfer zone. The team makes it to the escape pod. Yoshihito asks the assistant how to pilot it, and the assistant assures him it will autopilot once connected. Yoshihito activates the pod but finds the escape hatch sealed. The only solution is to get clearance from the control deck. Isaac assures them he'll handle the hatch. Transforming into his monstrous form, he uses his immense strength to force it open. The pod launches immediately, with Isaac clinging to its roof. The pod enters the planet's atmosphere, causing extreme pressure and heat to engulf the ship. Everyone panics except Isaac, unaffected due to his volcanic body. The pod crashes into the water, and Yoshihito sinks deep into the sea. But Yoshihito wakes up and finds himself in the dream world inside the old, broken-down human house. He's surprised to be there now and asks the assistant how he ended up here. The assistant explains that when Yoshihito was drowning, his life was unstable, which automatically transported him to the dream world. The assistant then informs him that, in the real world, you saved him and that he reassured the others that Yoshihito was okay. Yoshihito is astonished by the assistant's ability to interact in both realms simultaneously. At that moment, he hears the sound of a fight outside. Looking out, he sees gray wolves battling red wolves. Yoshihito rushes out and deflects the attack from the gray wolves. Frightened by his protective shield, they flee quickly. The wolf leader is surprised by Yoshihito's return and angrily asks if he pities them. Yoshihito responds that he didn't mean that at all. The leader tells Yoshihito he's very grateful for his help and asks about the dentist Yoshihito had promised earlier. Yoshihito apologizes and says he forgot but assures the leader he'll bring the dentist next time for sure. The leader chooses to trust him this time since Yoshihito had helped them. Yoshihito then shows the wolf leader a metal token and asks about the writing on it. The wolf explains that it's an ancient language used in rituals. He tells Yoshihito that a human taught him this language when he was young. Yoshihito is intrigued and asks about the other name for the ancient language, but just as the leader is about to respond, Yoshihito shifts back to the real world. Yoshihito wakes up to find you in front of him. She reassures him that she and Isaac were very worried about him. However, the assistant interrupts, saying that even though Yoshihito is useless, nothing bad will happen to him as long as the assistant is around. Yoshihito thanks them for their concern. The assistant announces that he has scanned the entire planet and shows them a map indicating the crash site and the new tenant's location. After discussing it, the group decides to head to the tenant first since they're in a nearby forest. Meanwhile, back at home, Vivian is happily preparing a delicious meal. Lily is excited about the food and asks if Vivian added garlic. Vivian says yes and asks why Lily is asking. Lily explains that her nose is extremely sensitive to garlic and she's afraid the smell might make her faint one day. Vivian gets annoyed and tells Lily not to eat her food if she's going to criticize it. But then Vivian notices something strange and asks Lily if she smelled the garlic after eating so much. Lily finds it odd too and admits that she hadn't noticed. Suddenly, Lily faints. Vivian rushes to check on her, but Lily's powers activate unexpectedly. She pushes Vivian away and tries to escape the house. Vivian blocks her and asks what's happening. The situation becomes increasingly alarming. Elsewhere, two mysterious figures stand on the roof of a house, discussing something strange that's about to occur. They're keeping an eye on Lily from afar. Back with Yoshihito and the group, they are exhausted from walking. Yu asks how much farther they have to go. The assistant replies that they're almost there. At that moment, they arrive at the site of a massive explosion in the middle of the forest. Yoshihito comments that if this explosion had occurred on Earth, it would have been in the headlines for 6 months straight. Yu worries about whether the new tenant might have been hurt in the explosion. Isaac rushes ahead to check on the tenant's safety. He opens the spaceship but finds nothing inside. He searches thoroughly, even disassembling the entire thing, but it's all in vain. The assistant then explains that this part isn't the cargo bay of the spaceship, so the tenant might be in the cargo hold instead. Realizing the tenant isn't here, the assistant reassures them that the cargo hold is incredibly durable, so the tenant must still be alive. This calms the group, and they head toward the other crash site. When they arrive at the second site, they discover it's underwater. Yoshihito becomes anxious, realizing the situation is now much more dangerous. Yu quickly prepares herself and jumps into the water, saying she'll investigate the spaceship wreckage. The assistant informs her that the wreckage is 5,000 meters deep underwater. Yoshihito becomes even more nervous and asks how they'll manage to reach that depth. Yu throws her clothes to the group, tells them to hold on to them, and transforms into a mermaid to easily dive to the wreckage. Yu asks Yoshihito who wants to come with her. The assistant suggests Yoshihito go since he's the team leader. Isaac pushes Yoshihito into the water, and Yu grabs him before diving. Underwater, Yoshihito struggles to breathe and feels like he's about to suffocate. But when he takes a breath, he's surprised to find that he can breathe normally. Yu explains that mermaids can merge with water and that she's controlling the water around them, allowing him to breathe freely. Yoshihito is amazed and says the superpowered individuals continue to surprise him. Suddenly, a giant, ferocious fish attacks them. Yu quickly transforms into an octopus, scaring the fish away. Yoshihito is shocked by her transformation abilities. Yu explains that she can take on any form of sea creature. She then turns into a giant shrimp and they quickly continue their journey, eventually reaching the wreckage. Using the assistant as a flashlight, Yoshihito spots the spaceship. The assistant confirms it's the cargo hold. Although damaged externally, it's in incredible condition internally. Yu swims around the ship, controlling the pressure so that Yoshihito can move as if he were on land. Yoshihito and Yu enter the ship as the assistant opens the door for them. Yoshihito searches for the tenant but finds nothing. Yu approaches a small box and discovers baby supplies inside. Yoshihito calls Raven and asks if she sent them the new tenant or not. She tells him the tenant is indeed right in front of them. It's the egg Yu is holding, which hasn't hatched yet. Yoshihito is stunned and asks how they're supposed to return to Earth now. Raven tells him she'll give him instructions in an hour and to wait in a spacious area on land. The group takes the egg and returns to the surface. Raven arrives in a massive spaceship on the planet, almost killing them with her recklessness. Yoshihito scolds her for being so reckless. She retorts that she regrets coming herself to deliver his spaceship. Yoshihito is shocked and asks if the spaceship is really his. The group is thrilled to own such an impressive ship. Yoshihito asks if she named the ship. Raven reassures him that she named it the Solid Rock. Strangely, Yoshihito loves the name, though the group finds it odd and says it's a weird choice. They then discuss the egg. Raven explains it's a mermaid egg from another dimension. The group is astonished. She reveals that the egg's world collapsed and everyone on its planet died except for it. Yoshihito asks what would happen if Earth's environment isn't suitable for the egg. Raven reassures him that the egg is resilient and can survive any conditions. Moreover, Yu is also a mermaid, so the similarities between them will help it thrive on their planet. The team prepares to leave. Yoshihito asks Raven how to operate the ship. The assistant proudly announces that this is finally his moment to shine as he pilots the ship toward the space station. Yoshihito and the team return home, thanking their luck for their safe return. But as soon as they enter the house, they are shocked to find everything completely destroyed. They see Vivian restraining Lily to stop her from escaping. Vivian tells Lily to surrender and stop resisting. The team assumes that Vivian and Lily are arguing as usual. However, Vivian explains that Lily has been acting strangely over the past 2 days and tried to escape, but she managed to stop her. The team starts noticing Lily's odd behavior. Suddenly, Lily frees herself and attacks Yoshihito, who blocks her using his shield, confused about what's happening. He asks Vivian what's wrong with Lily. Lily then tries to attack the egg, but Isaac restrains her. Yoshihito asks Vivian when Lily started behaving like this. Vivian explains that it began the day before, while they were having a normal meal, and Lily started acting strangely out of nowhere. Yoshihito decides they should take Lily to Raven to examine her. Vivian asks if the witch Raven can really help Lily, and Yoshihito admits he's not sure, but they don't have any other options. Yoshihito asks the robotic assistant to teleport them to the base, but it refuses, citing Lily's uncooperative behavior. Isaac assures them he can use a magic spell for the teleportation, and he successfully transports them to the base. They approach Raven, who is in the middle of eating her noodles. She gets annoyed when they interrupt her and sarcastically asks if they want their next mission on the battlefield. Yoshihito apologizes, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Raven notices Lily biting her leg and asks, "You mean this little wolf pup?" She grabs Lily for a closer look and says, "Look into my eyes carefully." Lily asks, "Are you a doctor?" Raven replies, "Yes. But tell me, what do you see in my eyes?" Lily answers, "I see people melting under the red moon and turning into water. I'm really scared." At that moment, Lily attacks Raven, but Raven knocks her unconscious. Raven reassures the team that Lily is fine and only fainted temporarily. She explains that Lily isn't sick, but is undergoing a transformation phase. A surprised Yoshihito asks what she means. Raven clarifies that Lily is awakening a new ability specific to her species. It's natural for her to go through this phase before returning to normal, but it could last for a long time, even years. Yoshihito asks Vivian if Lily ate anything unusual recently. Vivian replies that she cooked all the meals at home in the past 2 days, so everything should have been fine. Raven speculates that prolonged exposure to the moon might have triggered it, given how sensitive Lily's species is to lunar effects. Yoshihito remembers that Lily was with them at Yorkford Castle when Vivian summoned the red moon, which could have impacted her. Raven suggests taking Lily to the enhancement chamber for further evaluation. While in the chamber, Raven casually chats with Yu and Isaac about their new life at Yoshihito's home. They assure her that everything is going great and full of excitement. Afterward, the team leaves, and Raven resumes eating her noodles. In the enhancement chamber, Lily wakes up and seems back to normal. Yu asks how she feels, and Lily replies, "I don't remember anything, but judging by everyone being here, I must have caused a lot of trouble." Lily and Vivian immediately resume bickering until Yoshihito calms them down, praising Vivian for taking good care of Lily during her episode. The team is relieved that Lily has returned to her usual self. Later, the team heads home to rest. Yoshihito visits Raven to update her on Lily's recovery. Raven informs him that he also needs decides to submit reports on the new tenants, Isaac, and the egg. Yoshihito groans, complaining about the tedious paperwork, but Raven warns him he won't get his monthly salary without it. Frustrated, Yoshihito asks for at least a day or two of rest after their recent ordeal, but Raven insists he completes his duties. They discuss Lily's condition. Raven warns that while Lily is fine now, her body hasn't fully stabilized and could enter the transformation phase again. Concerned, Yoshihito asks if they should bring her back for another suppression spell. Raven sternly warns him that repeating the spell could be fatal for Lily. Instead, they must prepare for alternative measures if it happens again. Raven predicts the next incident might occur during the full moon. She checks with her assistant and learns it's tomorrow. Unfortunately, her schedule is packed, so she assigns the task of handling Lily to Yoshihito. He protests, calling it dangerous, but Raven reassures him, saying he successfully managed the last 2 missions and trusts he'll succeed again. On his way home, Yoshihito buys camping supplies for an overnight trip. When he returns, he finds Vivian brewing a magical potion in an old cauldron. He asks what she's doing, and she explains it's her own special elixir for treating Lily. Yoshihito notices the potion's foul smell and asks if she's sure it's not poisonous. Offended, Vivian calls him ignorant, explaining the brew contains 10 medicinal herbs and blood essence, which stabilize the soul. Yoshihito asks where Lily is, and Vivian tells him she's asleep upstairs. He informs her they'll set out in the evening and asks her to finish the potions by then. That night, the team camps in the forest. Yu comments on how beautiful the place is, and Yoshihito tells them he used to play there as a child. He reassures everyone that they're far from the city, so they can relax without worry. The team enjoys their time, but exhaustion eventually takes over, and they all fall asleep, except Lily, who stays up eating. Lily soon finds herself staring at the full moon. She suddenly enters her transformation phase again, howling loudly. The team wakes up and observes her from a distance. When Lily notices them, she attacks with fierce wind magic. Isaac casts a strong defensive spell to block her attack, but they're all deeply worried about her. Suddenly, Lily transforms into a giant wolf, calms down, and reverts to her normal form. Yoshihito approaches her, playing with her for a while as the team brainstorms ways to help her. Meanwhile, 2 mysterious individuals observe Lily from afar, discussing a sinister plan to exploit her. At that moment, Lily behaves oddly again and heads toward the city. The team decides to stop her immediately. Isaac attempts to restrain her, but is easily pushed aside. Yoshihito leaps onto Lily, trying to calm her and remind her who he is, but it's no use. Just as all hope seems lost, Yu transforms into a mermaid and sings a beautiful melody, soothing Lily completely. Lily reverts to her human form and falls asleep. The next morning, the team returns home while the 2 mysterious figures continue to monitor them from a distance. They infiltrate the house and ambush Yoshihito, knocking him unconscious. Lily is kidnapped and taken to an abandoned warehouse. She wakes up in the morning, finding herself in a strange place, confused about what's happening. She wonders if Yoshihito's house exploded because of her, and that's why she's there. She tries to check outside, but the door shocks her heavily, and she thinks that Vivian must have electrified it to stop her from escaping. She's then surprised by the appearance of 2 strange brothers. The older one says, "You're finally awake," and Lily, puzzled, asks, "Who are you?" The younger one replies, "We're your new friends." Lily is confused, so the younger brother explains that they'll help her from now on, as they're her new comrades. Lily asks what they'll help her with, and the older brother tells her that the vampire had cast a spell on her, but they've rescued her, and from now on, they'll be her team. Lily asks them about Vivian and Yoshihito, but the younger brother yells at her, saying she can't be with them anymore. Lily yells back, trying to explain that Vivian and Yoshihito aren't evil, but the younger one shouts, "You won't be dealing with them anymore." Lily then asks, "Do you have any grilled ribs?" The younger brother is baffled by her response and says, "What are you talking about now? Are you a child?" Lily replies, "Don't talk to me anymore, I don't want to speak with you." The younger brother gets angry, but the older one calms him down, telling Lily, "If you don't listen, you won't get any food at all." Lily tries to escape, but the younger brother grabs her, and the older one hits her, causing her to pass out. They leave her behind and walk away. At this moment, Vivian's bat shows up and overhears the brothers talking about needing to gather all their partners quickly and teach Lily bit by bit about the clan. The bat quickly flees after hearing this. Meanwhile, Yoshihito wakes up, and Isaac asks him about Lily's whereabouts. Yoshihito explains what happened and that Lily has been kidnapped. He tells them they must rescue her quickly, and Isaac asks where they might find her. Just then, Vivian's bat returns and tells them everything it overheard. They decide to use Yoshihito's robotic assistant to heal the bat and locate Lily, discovering that she's in an old steel factory. They manage to pinpoint the area where Lily is, as there's only one steel factory nearby, and they split into 2 groups, Yoshihito and Vivian in one, and Isaac and Yu in the other. We then see the brothers setting traps in the area to kill anyone trying to breach their hideout. Back with Yoshihito and Vivian, they are flying through the sky towards Lily's location, deeply worried about her. Vivian tries to reassure Yoshihito that Lily will be fine, but she notices that one of her bats was injured as it approached a specific area. They head to that spot and realize Lily must be there. Isaac and Yu reach another location and check the place, but Isaac yells at a group of people who have nothing to do with the situation. Yu apologizes to them, but they're very upset with Isaac and Yu. Back with Vivian, she throws stones at the black magical barrier the brothers created and tells Yoshihito that it's extremely difficult to break through. Yoshihito suggests that the area might be completely immune to the power of the mist, just like the castle was immune to her magic and the hunter's spells. Yoshihito remains anxious because the situation is extremely dangerous, but he decides to try and tells Vivian to take him there. The younger brother spots them flying past the building and attacks them fiercely, but Vivian blocks the attack. Yoshihito asks, "Did you kidnap Lily?" and demands to know where she is. The younger brother replies, "Why should I tell you?" and transforms into a werewolf, saying, "We are Lily's true companions," before attacking them. Vivian dodges all his strikes, and the fight between her and the younger brother continues. She pushes him away from Yoshihito, who leaps off the building to avoid the brother's attacks. Vivian strikes the younger brother, and he says, "Are you the Countess of the Crimson Moon?" Vivian responds, "I almost forgot that title entirely," then adds, "The important thing is, will you hand over Lily, or should I finish you off?" Meanwhile, Yoshihito climbs the building's pipes, calling for Lily, and manages to sneak into the building. The older brother suddenly attacks Yoshihito, but Yoshihito blocks the blows with his shield and tries to escape. The robotic assistant advises him that he can't defeat the older brother without a fight and that running isn't an option. Yoshihito replies, "I'm just an ordinary human. What else can I do besides run?" The assistant explains that Yoshihito's body has fully recovered, meaning he can now face the older brother directly. Yoshihito decides to confront the older brother, standing his ground. The older brother hits him hard, so Yoshihito tries to flee again, but the older brother keeps finding him. Yoshihito activates the sprinkler system to distract the older brother and continues searching for Lily. He eventually finds Lily, who is sleeping and upset because they won't give her any more food. She wakes up, sees Yoshihito in front of her, and he notices she's very hungry. He tells her, "Let's go back home to eat," and Lily is overjoyed. On their way out, the older brother blocks their path, saying, "I won't let you escape." Yoshihito asks, "Why did you kidnap Lily?" The older brother is confused and says, "Kidnap? She's our comrade." Lily replies, "No, I'm not part of your team," and the older brother says, "Looks like that vampire tricked you, so I have to defeat her first." Vivian arrives at this moment, having defeated the younger brother. The older brother becomes very worried about his sibling and wants to finish off Vivian, but the younger brother stops him, saying that Vivian is the Countess of the Crimson Moon. The older brother assumes that Lily is with Vivian because she threatened her, but Lily explains that it's all wrong. She's with Vivian because of her delicious cooking. Yoshihito then asks the older brother to listen so he can explain everything, and Yoshihito tells their story from the beginning. The brothers finally understand the situation and explain that all the supernatural beings are searching for their comrades because the prophecy's time is approaching. Before they can explain the prophecy further, monster hunters appear, trying to capture them. The hunter leader appears and says, "I'm surprised to see such a large gathering of monsters here. This isn't your place to live." Just as the younger brother tries to respond, "We're not going to tell you anything," one of the hunters shoots him in the back with an arrow. The leader says, "You clearly don't understand your situation, do you?" You answer when spoken to. The leader orders the hunters to attack the brothers, but Yoshihito blocks the attack with his shield. They quickly escape, and then Vivian and Lily attack the hunters and flee as well. Yoshihito tells the brothers to close their eyes, using his robotic assistant to blind the hunters with light, allowing them all to escape in seconds. However, the hunters chase after the group and manage to corner the brothers and Yoshihito. One of the hunters tries to shoot Yoshihito with arrows but misses, and Yoshihito quickly attacks and defeats her. He then rushes to Lily and Vivian, finding that Lily has already defeated her opponent. Meanwhile, the hunters surround the brothers. The younger brother recklessly attacks, but the older brother blocks the attack and is severely injured. Furious, the younger brother charges at the hunter who injured his brother but is quickly struck down by the leader. The leader prepares to finish him off, and though the older brother tries to intervene, his injuries prevent him from moving. The leader taunts, "Tell me why you're here, and I'll let him live." Just as the older brother is about to reveal why they came, Yoshihito and Lily arrive. Lily reveals her new powers to save the younger brother, but the leader attacks her. Surprised by Lily's strength, he launches a powerful attack, but Lily counters with an equally strong one, stunning the leader. The hunters activate their protective shields. In that moment, the group takes the opportunity to escape into the fog. However, the younger brother's condition is critical. Vivian asks the older brother why so many monster hunters are after them. The older brother replies, "Our actions must have drawn their attention." Yoshihito then asks him what he meant earlier in the abandoned building. The older brother explains, "If the supernatural beings regain regain their powers, it will be a devastating blow to the demon hunters. At that moment, Wu and Isaac appear through Isaac's teleportation magic. Yoshihito explains what happened and how they barely escaped the hunters. The older brother asks Yoshihito, are those two also part of the supernatural? Yoshihito confirms. Wu notices the younger brother's serious injury and offers to heal him using her magic. The older brother apologizes for troubling them and Wu begins to heal the younger brother. The older brother then shares the prophecy with the group. It foretells the day when the supernatural beings will regain their powers, which would not be in the hunters' best interest as they've been fighting them for centuries. That's why the supernatural are preparing for that day and gathering their clans. By the time the story ends, the younger brother is healed and regains consciousness, reassuring everyone of his condition. Suddenly, the hunters reappear and the group prepares for battle. The leader charges at Isaac, but Isaac's dagger deflects the attack, shocking the leader. He tries again, but the result is the same. The leader tells Isaac, we only want the brothers, and we'll leave. Stay out of this. Isaac firmly replies, no way. Those two are good people, and I won't let you harm them. The brothers are amazed by Isaac's strength as he summons meteor-like magic, scaring the leader into fleeing. However, Isaac uses teleportation magic to bring the leader back in front of him, punches him, and knocks him unconscious. Vivon suggests that Yoshihito contact Raven to report the situation. Yoshihito assures her that he has already sent a full report. The brothers thank Yoshihito and the group for their help and mention that they need to return to their clan to inform them of what happened. Wu asks them about the original text of the prophecy which a mermaid had told them about. The older brother replies, the prophecy is in the ancient language, and they bid farewell before leaving. Isaac captures the hunters, but one of the female hunters suddenly appears, holding Wu hostage. She demands, let my comrades go or I'll finish her off. At that moment, Mr. Nanyang arrives and says, I'm the strongest hunter who roams the world. Release her immediately, she's wanted for trial, and I need to take her now. The female hunter, confused, asks, who are you? I've never seen you before. Which region do you belong to? He responds, I always work alone. Apologizing for her rudeness, she obeys and releases Wu. Nanyang winks at Yoshihito, signaling that it's a trick, and takes Wu from her while Isaac hands the hunters over to the female hunter. She asks Nanyang if he needs any help, but he declines, and she leaves with her comrades. However, as they pass through the forest, Raven traps them again. The group is shocked to discover that Nanyang knows Lily and says, you scared me. What are you doing here? Yoshihito asks Lily, you know him. Wu gets angry at Nanyang, punches him, and says, what are you doing here, brother? Everyone is stunned to learn that Nanyang is Wu's brother. The team returns home afterward, and we see Lily putting an egg on the fire to boil it and eat it. The team is outside talking about the connection between Yu and Nanyang. Lily walks in, and Vivian asks her, what were you doing in the kitchen? Lily replies, that's a secret. Yu continues arguing with Nanyang, and Yoshihito tries to calm her down. She tells him he doesn't know what Nanyang has been doing, explaining that he's always following her everywhere, every moment and every second. Nanyang replies that following her around this time paid off because he saved her. Yu responds, fine, I thank you for saving me this time, but please don't follow me anymore. Yoshihito asks, how are you two siblings when one of you is a mermaid and the other is a monster hunter? Nanyang explains that their father was a monster hunter while their mother was a mermaid. Vivian is shocked and tells Yoshihito, it's extremely rare for a mermaid to marry a human, let alone a monster hunter. Yoshihito agrees, that's truly surprising, especially since the relationship between the supernaturals and the monster hunters is so bad. Vivian asks, where are your parents now? I'm excited to meet them. Yu replies that they disappeared one day, which is why she's been traveling the world to find them. Then she asks Yoshihito, how do you know my brother? He says they met in England some time ago. Nanyang asks, why did you go to Yorkford Castle last time? I don't remember anything because I passed out. When I woke up, everything was gone. The team is nervous about telling him their secret since he's a monster hunter, but Yu reassures them, don't worry, my brother would never betray me, and he won't leak any information he hears from us. Vivian adds, yeah, with his intelligence, he can't possibly be a spy, so there's no need to worry about him. Yoshihito says, alright, I'll tell you the truth. I'm the owner of this house, and all these people are my tenants. We went to England to recruit Isaac. Isaac gets up to greet him, welcome, I'm from the Beast clan. Then Lily introduces herself, saying, I'm also from the Wolf clan. Yoshihito corrects her, you're from the Husky Dog clan, not wolves. Lily starts crying and insists, no, I'm from the wolves. Vivian says, don't worry, I can verify your bloodline for you. She uses her vampire fangs to suck Lily's blood and then says, I have great news for you. You are 100% Husky, but you're also from the royal family. Lily gets mad, and the two start arguing. At that moment, the Wolf brothers knock on the door, and Nanyang goes to open it. The brothers are shocked and prepare to attack when they see a monster hunter opening the door. The younger brother and Nanyang start fighting again, and Yoshihito tries to calm them down, but it's no use. Isaac steps in and silences them, as usual. The older brother asks Yoshihito why a monster hunter is here. Yoshihito explains, he's part of our team, though an external external member. Vivian asks the older brother, what brings you here this time? He replies, we've come to invite you to join us. Vivian responds, do you really believe in that silly prophecy? The older brother offers them large pieces of gold if they help. Vivian gets excited about the gold, but Lily yells at her, bringing her back to her senses. Suddenly, the power goes out in the house, and they're confused about what's happening. Yu goes to check the kitchen and finds that the water is also cut off, and Lily says the fire isn't working either. Yoshihito asks his robotic assistant how much money is left in his account. The assistant replies, only 8 yuan. Everyone is shocked, and Yoshihito says, looks like we didn't pay the bills. Yu asks, don't you get any salary from Raven? Yoshihito says, there was a lot of money in my account. Lily asks, then what happened? Yoshihito gets frustrated and goes to his room, locking himself in. The brothers suggest the team come with them, saying, you're all supernaturals anyway, and supernaturals shouldn't live with humans. But the team refuses, deciding to find a way to help Yoshihito and stay together. The next morning, Yoshihito wakes up and finds no one in the house. The water is still off, and everything is still cut off like the day before. He asks his robotic assistant to take him to headquarters. We see Lily working at a dog cafe, and Vivian spots her, feeling proud of her. Vivian then decides to find a job for herself too. We also see Yu singing in parks and collecting money from children, while Nanyang climbs a snowy mountain to retrieve his savings that he buried there over 10 years ago. We return to Yoshihito, who is talking to Raven, saying it's an emergency. She asks, did the egg hatch? He replies, no, I need to borrow some money. She asks, why? What happened? And gets upset with him. He explains that he lost his money due to some critical circumstances. Raven agrees to give him money because he's been defending his tenants so strongly. He thanks her and asks about the monster hunters they captured. She tells him that she sent them for re-education, so he shouldn't worry, they won't attack him again. Yoshihito asks, is there any connection between supernaturals and the dream realm? Raven replies, of course. Most supernaturals originally came from the dream realm. Yoshihito is shocked, saying, why didn't you tell me this before? She replies, if you can't figure that out yourself, then why do I need you here? Vivian and Isaac then visit Lily, asking her to help them earn money using their supernatural abilities. The plan is to collect treasures that have sunk to the ocean floor. We go back to Yoshihito, who is discussing with Raven how to resolve the conflict between the supernaturals and the monster hunters. Raven tells him, no matter what you do, you can't create lasting peace between them. Yoshihito insists, but Raven yells at him, stop thinking about it. Are you scared just because the hunters attacked you once? He replies, I'm not scared of anyone, but despite how difficult the supernaturals and hunters are, and how much trouble they cause, I still want to find a solution. Not everyone can be like Yu's parents. Raven says, since you're so persistent, I'll send you back to the dream realm so you can confirm everything for yourself. Yoshihito returns home afterward and finds everything back to normal, even better than before. The team tells him, what took you so long this time? Yoshihito is surprised that they managed to restore everything, and Isaac explains, we saw you were upset, so we decided to work and help you. They serve Yoshihito a delicious meal, and Lily gives him a gift, a delicious cake she baked herself. The Wolf brothers are watching the team from outside the house. The younger brother says, looks like they solved their problems, and they leave again. Back inside, Lily tells the team she's preparing a delicious meal for them. Everyone is surprised, and Yoshihito announces that he's going to the dream realm to confirm some things. He asks, by the way, where's Nanyang? Yu replies, he went to complete his mission, but don't worry, he'll help you if you need him. Lily asks Yoshihito if she can come with him this time. Yoshihito responds, you all want to come, don't you? Fine, you can come. The whole team is excited about going together, but Yoshihito asks about the egg and starts looking for it. He can't find it because Lily is cooking it in the kitchen.